Hello, hello. We'll wait just a couple of seconds here if people are wanting to join us. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our August Purple Chair Chat. My name is Evelyn, and my pronouns are she, hers. I'm an education and prevention specialist at Jana's campaign, and this Purple Chair Chat is going to focus on the importance of prevention programming. Especially with the academic year upon us, we think it's extremely valuable to dive into how prevention programming truly makes a difference, as well as long-term impacts for young people and adults alike in their relationships. I do want to make a quick disclaimer today too. I'm currently getting over COVID, so I apologize in advance if there is any coughing during this chat. Our Purple Chair Chats are live conversations that we have instilling the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to prevent gender and relationship violence. And we use these discussions to raise awareness, engage bystanders, promote healthy and respectful relationships, and encourage the development of new social norms. And while we are going to be doing a bit of a lighter topic today, I do still want to make the disclaimer that I'll be discussing some sensitive topics and some sensitive things regarding gender and relationship violence that might be triggering for some. So please take care of yourself, do whatever you need. And if you are in need of resources or services, please reach out to us. We'll put you in contact with those right people. As always, there will be resources and websites that are linked in the comment section of this video, so check those out. And the majority of the information I'm using today is from the CDC, and I want to make sure that I cite them. So diving in today, I want to start off with the question, what is prevention? Essentially, it's looking upstream, right? It's taking these deep-seated issues and trying to find the root cause. Not just surface-level contributions, not just putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It's stopping issues before they even have a chance to become the problems that we see in society. And I want to give what I think is a really perfect example of just how much prevention and having this kind of education, having this kind of knowledge truly matters, truly makes a difference in giving young people the tools that they need to navigate through their lives, their challenges, their trauma, of which dating violence and relationship violence is absolutely included within that trauma. So the example I want to talk about that I think really resonates with a lot of people and displays the power of prevention is ACEs. And that stands for the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. You might have heard of it, you might not have, but essentially adverse childhood experiences are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood, so anywhere from 0 to 18 years old. And the study itself includes like a self-test where a series of questions is asked of the participant, and you can find the ACE questionnaire online. I actually highly encourage you to figure out your own ACE score if you've never done it before, because as we're going to talk about today, we can predict and therefore prevent so much by having this data. Excuse me. So the questions in the ACE study ask about traumatic events or experiences that one has gone through before they turn 18. For example, it will ask questions like, before your 18th birthday, did you experience abuse or neglect in your household? Did you witness violence against your mother or your father? Did you have a family member attempt or die by suicide? And it will also include aspects of the child's environment, like their sense of safety, their stability, their bonding. So it will also ask questions like, did you grow up in a household where one or both of your parents struggled with substance abuse, mental health problems? Did your parents go through a divorce? Did you experience a family member being in jail or prison? Those types of things. And for every one of those things that an individual has experienced, they get a point, which all of the points in which they answer in the affirmative then come together to create the overall ACE score. So that's the background. And what we know is that ACEs are common. About 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states reported they had experienced at least one type of adverse childhood experience before they turned 18 years old. And then nearly 1 in 6 reported they had experienced 4 or more types of ACEs. And this is important because what we know is the higher someone's ACE score is, the more they're at risk later in life for many, many emotional, physical, and psychological health issues. ACEs are linked to cardiovascular and pulmonary diseases. They're linked to mental illness, substance use problems, both in adolescence and adulthood. They can negatively impact education, job opportunities, earning potential. And pretty much all of these effects from ACEs, they also directly line up with the long-term effects that we see from unhealthy and abusive relationships. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. Plus, children growing up with toxic stress and toxic environments, they have difficulties forming healthy and stable relationships of their own, especially later in life. They're at risk not only for being the victim of abusive relationships, but also for being the perpetrator, for being the abuser. They're at a higher risk for that. So I've been talking about all these really negative things, but the reality is that adverse childhood experiences can be prevented. Preventing ACEs actually could potentially reduce tons of health conditions. For example, by preventing ACEs, up to 1.9 million heart disease cases and 21 million depression cases could have potentially been avoided. And this is why prevention is so important. So I'm going to share some proven prevention techniques that we know work for reducing adverse childhood experiences. So things like strengthening economic support to families, which could be like having family-friendly work policies and family-friendly workplaces, promoting social norms that protect against violence and adversity through things like public education campaigns like Jana's campaign, legislative approaches, bystander approaches, which I'll talk more about later, as well as getting men and boys to be allies in prevention themselves. And then connecting youth to caring adults and having those kinds of activities and interactions through mentoring programs, after school programs, giving children a chance to experience those healthy and caring relationships with adults, which we know can actually really counteract the effects that we see from adverse childhood experiences or what they might be experiencing in their home. So all of the things I've just talked about are evidence-based. They're effective tools to lessen and prevent adverse childhood experiences like domestic violence, like teen dating violence, that we know create harsh effects for people later in life. So can you imagine if these prevention techniques were implemented regularly for children and for teens, how much it would change their lives? It would change their ACEs, their health, and their well-being for the rest of their lives. Prevention is so very powerful. So now let's talk specifically about domestic or relationship violence prevention and the importance of it, because women who have experienced domestic violence are 80% more likely to have a stroke. They're 70% more likely to have heart disease, they're 60% more likely to have asthma, and they're 70% more likely to drink heavily than women who have not experienced intimate partner violence. In the United States, back in 1995, the cost of intimate partner rape, physical assault, stalking totaled $5.8 billion every single year for direct medical and mental health care services. And when that was updated more to dollars today, the cost is more than $8.3 billion. And again, that is every single year. So promoting healthy, respectful, non-violent relationships can help reduce this occurrence and therefore prevent the harmful, long-lasting effects, which brings us to what we do at Jana's campaign. So we at Jana's campaign take a prevention approach in all the work that we do, and everything we've been discussing today we can help with in your communities, in your workplaces, your schools, youth groups, through our red flag relationship presentations where we dive into red flags, consent, boundaries, what to do, how to help someone if they're in an unhealthy relationship. Excuse me. We also have bystander trainings to help students learn how to immediately and effectively intervene when they see those unhealthy situations occurring with their friends, their family, acquaintances, whoever it might be. And we offer gender-specific presentations. So we speak with young girls and young boys separately about the stresses and pressures that they're facing, especially when it comes to relationships during their adolescent years. Faculty and staff trainings, we do those as well, whether it's geared towards faculty, staff, administrators, the entire school district. Our specialized trainings are created to meet the needs of your specific school and your specific students. More of our work, workplace trainings, community presentations and events, college and university presentations. We do safety summits, which are absolutely incredible. They're regional and affordable conferences that are designed to educate college and university personnel on the important issues of preventing and responding to things like sexual assault, relationship violence, and stalking on college campuses. And there's even more that we offer, like Safe Dates curriculum, which is a 10-session dating abuse curriculum that we train teachers on and provide them with free access to the curriculum. So if any of the things that I've just talked about seem of interest to you, or you want to learn more about us and what we offer and our prevention approach, I highly encourage you to check out our website, januscampaign.org, where there's much more information, or send us an email to request a presentation. So now we get to the big question. What can you personally do to prevent? Because sometimes it feels like these are very large, huge, looming, daunting issues. And you can kind of start to feel like, well, what can I do as just one person to help? Well, number one, educate yourself on the root causes of violence. I know I say this, I think, probably every Purple Chair Chat, but it's because it's true. Read books and articles, join a group at school, attend a training that's available to you, learn about the myths and the realities of gender violence, and understand how our society is still condoning it. Number two, interrupt sexist and discriminatory language. Words are very powerful, especially when they're used by people who have power over others. We live in a society, unfortunately, where words are used to put people down constantly, especially women and girls. Gendered name calling sends a message that girls and women are less than fully human. When girls and women are seen as inferior, it becomes so much easier to treat them with disrespect and with violence. So change the way you speak, change the way you think, call other people out for the way that they're speaking. Number three, stop victim blaming. Don't blame women and girls for how they choose to dress. Don't judge their behavior. Violence cannot be permitted through limiting people's freedoms. This only allows violence to continue because perpetrators then become invincible. They feel like they're entitled, they're not being held accountable, and those who witness the abuse will remain silent. Number four, stop stereotyping men versus women's roles. Societal roles and expectations affect our decisions about relationships. Men are taught that expressing their feelings is not masculine, so examine your social roles. Learn ways to express feelings directly, non-violently, to create more meaningful relationships with the people in your life. And finally, number five, remember that violence is a choice, and it is preventable. Don't make excuses for friends or peers or family members who are violent. Don't support the notion that violence is caused by mental illness, lack of anger management skills, alcohol or drug use, stress, any of those things, because the fact is that violence is a choice every single time, and it is preventable. So, as we finish up today, I encourage you to take some of those tips with you and remember that we can all have a part in preventing gender and relationship violence. Thanks so much for joining me today. Again, we are a prevention organization at Janus Campaign. Prevention is what we do, so reach out to us to learn more. We would love to hear from you. As always, if you're in need of resources or services, reach out to us, let us know. We'll put you in contact with those right people. Thanks so much, everybody, and hope to see you again next month.